Hey everyone, welcome to another Serie A fantasy video. Took a couple days off for the weekend, but we're back with another preseason video. This one pertains to some big players that have had a transfer and will be playing for a new team at the start of the season that are now in Serie A. Some of them have come from a different Serie A team to their new one. Some of them have come from an outside league as well. We're focusing on some of the bigger names. People probably have heard of these players before, not so much the players going to the small teams from another small team or just prospect players that might be filling in squads. If we see some significant ones later, we can do another video like this. But today is what, the 8th of August. So anything that's become official since then that's a big name is probably in this video. You can let me know in the comments if I've missed anyone, and maybe we can do another video with those players as well. The community's been really great lately with all the subscriptions. I thought getting to 150 would be a crazy idea before preseason. We're only 4 subs away from getting that, so please hit the subscribe button if you're watching and haven't yet, and we'll keep building this community. There's been some nice dialogue going through, and it helps give other video ideas or at least some talk of Serie A fantasy to grow the community. Anyway, without further ado, we will get started on the transfer done deals that are big names that you may want your fantasy team to start out the season. First one we're going to look at is Divock Origi. He is coming from, I believe, Liverpool to Milan. He is an 8 million forward. And the reason that he could be really good is he is probably third choice striker right now behind Ibrahimovic and Giroud, who've been at Milan for a couple of years now. I know Ibrahimovic kind of came back and then maybe it's only considered to be 1 year. But anyway, we know that he is a major striker for the team, but he's injured right now. Giroud is also injury prone, so both of these strikers get injured frequently, and we know that Origi is a much less injury prone player. Tried making his name for himself in Liverpool, but obviously he was playing behind some pretty big players and Salah, Mane, Firmino, and stuff, so didn't get a whole lot of time. I could see him being a regular replacement for these two strikers that get injured, and maybe just taking one of their places in general because he is younger than both of them. As Ibrahimovic, we know, is getting pretty old, same with Giroud. And I think now instead of some of the attacking midfielders like Rebic or Leao or something going into that spot when they're injured, Origi is going to be there as well. And he might even be there to start the season and take a full-time spot in the attack. So it's good that I do think he'll get a significant amount of time. I don't think he's coming to this team to just sit on the bench like he did in Liverpool and come on for 20, 30-minute cameos. And he's coming from an experienced league in which generally when he played, he did do well. He just had some really big names in front of him. So I do think that he could be a good option, especially if Milan gets a good run of fixtures. He'll be someone I'm looking at. Maybe not to start the season, but at least he will definitely be an option down the road. Next one, obviously, you got to talk about Lukaku here, $13 million man, most expensive player in Serie A for a good reason. With the three-pronged attack that Inter has in Lukaku, Lautaro Martinez, and Dzeko, I'm sure he's number one on that list. So I think he will play the most frequently out of the three. Also, I don't know if Correa is still considered to be in the mix there, but I don't think he'll see much time. Waiting to see if one of those three get transferred out. If not, Lukaku might see a little less time, especially I'm sure he'd be used in Champions League and maybe rested for midweek games or something like that. Another thing to keep in mind is I think Lukaku would be the one to take penalties away from Lautaro Martinez. Lautaro used to have them before, and that made him a really good asset, but I do think Lukaku would come in and take that spot. So just something to look out for as well is he might have that penalty set piece threat as well, making him even more valuable. If you can fit him in the team, I think that would be good. If I had to choose honestly between Lukaku and Immobile, with when let's say they have an even strength of fixtures, I probably would still go with Immobile just because he is more proven, very consistent in Serie A. But if Inter has a good run of fixtures, Lazio isn't, I definitely want Lukaku in my squad. The next one, we are going to be looking at the three new signings for Juventus. I just wanted to throw him in there as well. We do have Pogba, who's 7.5 million. I think he's going to have a similar, not exact same, but a similar kind of threat to Dybala. And but you have the same problem. He's very injury prone. We already know that to start the season, he's going to be out for probably at least a month, anywhere between like 1 month, and I've seen anything as long as 4 months. So that reliability of him being there game week in, game week out. You don't want to use a transfer to bring him in, have to use a transfer to take him out right away. So there does come a lot of risk with Pogba, but he can rack up the points quickly in that midfield. We also have Bremer, who is 5 million. He seems to have a pretty nailed on spot in the Juventus defense as well, with Chiellini out now as well. We're trying to get to that younger defense, and he's a awesome new face, and he I believe won Defender of the Year in Serie A last year. So I do think he will be a very impactful player for Juve right off the start. Only 5 million, so it's a cheaper option to get into the Juve defense, who, if they do bounce back from last year, they haven't really shown it in the preseason yet, but they could get some decent clean sheets as well. We'll see what kind of team they are in just even the first couple of weeks, if they're a team you can rely on for clean sheets or not. And then we have Di Maria at 9.5 million. He would definitely be someone I look to get in if Juve have good fixtures. He's got lots of preseason time. I still think he has some good offensive threat. So as those fixtures get better for Juve, I'm going to be looking to be bringing Di Maria in. I think just that attacking midfielder, very creative for assists and obviously can finish as well. So he'll be one to see that'll be setting up Vlahovic or taking some nice shots from beyond the penalty area to put in the goals as well. Two big new signings for Roma, Paulo Dybala, obviously, and very recently, Jorginho Wijnaldum. I'd say both could be good options. I significantly think Dybala is going to be a better option than Wijnaldum off the start, especially with the good fixtures. Dybala has started playing in preseason games. I'd like to think that he's going to take a starting position right off the hop, or else it might be a little bit of a waste of money to have a 9.5 million midfielder on the bench. But we see the differences. Wijnaldum's always been a little more of a defensive mid. Dybala's an attacking mid. You want those attacking returns from a midfielder. And Wijnaldum is unproven in Serie A. Some people would say he's going to a lesser league. For those that would say Premier League's the hardest league and most competitive and all that stuff, I do not think Serie A is that far behind at all. So, but he's unproven in Serie A. It's a different system. It's a different type of game. And I don't think that you can say just because he's done well in the Premier League, he's going to do equally as well in Serie A. It's going to be an adjustment for him. Where we know that Dybala has played in Serie A for a long time, he might be playing under a new system in Roma, but he knows the type of styles that teams play. He's played against Roma several times, so he's at least used to the feel of Serie A, whereas Wijnaldum isn't. So I would say if you're taking a midfielder for Roma and you have the funds to do it, take Dybala over Wijnaldum, and we'll have to see how Wijnaldum fits into the squad and performs in Serie A before I end up thinking about choosing him. I've talked about Luka Jovic a couple times, a new striker for Fiorentina. For a starting striker of his caliber, I think 7 million is a great price to grab him. He is generally playing in a lone striker system. It was Vlahovic for the majority of last year, and then it turned to Cabral, I believe, for a bit. I think between Cabral and Piatek. I do think he'll be the starting striker, and I think he'll be expected to fill Vlahovic's shoes. I don't think anyone is expecting to get that same production that Vlahovic supplied Fiorentina towards the first half of last season. But I think the way that Fiorentina is run, that striker has a lot of opportunities, a lot of expected goals, and I do think that Jovic will be finding the back of the net pretty frequently in this Fiorentina side, who I do think is even looking better than last year. And the last one, maybe not a huge name, but just because his name has been around Serie A for a while and it's done a good team, I wanted to put in Demiral in here. It's gone through a couple teams now. I remember most fondly, obviously, when he was playing for Juve for a bit. But There is a lot of defenders in the Atalanta system. If he does become a regular starter, though, he'll be a good option in a strong Atalanta defense. If you think that he's going to be starting the season regularly with Atalanta's fixtures, it could be a really good option. There could be better, like I know Jim City for he started a lot for Atalanta last year. He's 4.5 million, so maybe he would be a better option. Um, but I just want they brought him in. I'm sure they didn't bring him in to sit him on the bench, so I don't know if he'll start the season right away, but could be a good option going along to get into the Atalanta defense, especially if the 4.5 options aren't playing. He could be a good one to choose to slide in there with these good fixtures. But anyway, these are the players that I've chosen to highlight that have had new clubs to start the season. Let me know who I missed and who you want to talk about a little bit. And if we can put together a couple names, then we'll make another video like this, and I'll do some digging into some players that I didn't even think of to put on this list. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to have another video up for you all soon. Take care. Have a good day.